Welcome. In today's video, we're going to explore sovereign sexuality for apex males from a geopolitical Christian perspective. God's divine design favors apex male sexuality and leads to purity, peace, pleasure, purpose, prosperity, and abundant living overall. So let's dive into how being a son of the Most High empowers you to achieve health and success in every season of life. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment below. If you're watching these videos and you find them useful or helpful, drop a like. It is profoundly helpful. If you don't find them useful, go somewhere else. This is not for you. This is for apex males. This is for people and apex females, but people who are seeking to live a righteous life beyond morality. And I know that it sounds very strange to people who don't actually know. What I'm bringing to fore here in these videos is not something that usually reaches human ears. It's usually at the very tops, and that's the only place that it stays up there. And so I am concerned that this is really good stuff, and it's good for people to hear it. And every time I share it with people in person, they're always very touched, and I get people telling me afterwards, oh, it was so helpful, and da, da, da. I say, okay, well, I'd like for more people to benefit from this. So anyway, if you're ready, if you have the capacity to understand this information, jump right in. If there are areas that you think that I can improve upon, please, by all means, let me know. I love and I welcome any type of clarification, because sometimes I just go. And I know what I'm saying, but sometimes the people receiving are like, can you clarify that? So let me know in the comment section below if there are areas that I can clarify or improve. Thank you, whoever's watching there. Let me see. I have not ever played. Nope. Okay. I'm going to eventually. I'm always like trying to figure this thing out in horizontal. So let's get right into it. So let's dive into how being a son of the Most High empowers you to achieve health and success in every season in life. First and foremost, God has a blueprint for apex male sexuality. Again, talking about sovereign sexuality in this. And this is based on the 4 pillars of geopolitical Christianity. These pillars prioritize self-enrichment, harmony, beauty, and liberty for all. That's where I think there's been a lot of confusion, because people misunderstand the 1% to just be people with money, influence, and social power. And I can tell you for a fact, those are, if they fit into the 1%, they're like the bottom rung. They're like the sludge at the bottom, okay? Because having money is a part of being part of the 1%. Having influence is a part of that. But like Jesus said in Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things shall be added unto you. Once you have accessed the kingdom of heaven, you have activated your apex humanity, you've activated sovereign masculine sexuality, then all of the money and all the power and influence and things that you want come to you. You may not want influence, you may not want power, but you may need money to cover all your bills and things like that. Those things come to you with flow. And so the first thing to understand, being a son of the Most High and how God empowers you to achieve health and success in every season of life through sovereign masculine sexuality, is to understand that God has a blueprint for male sexuality. And so this blueprint prioritizes you as the individual, and it helps you to navigate in the world with confidence and flow. The first and foremost, it starts with moral objectivism. You embrace absolute moral truths. In the morality that's taught to most Christian men, it's temporal. It's like, okay, it's the 90s, and this is what's moral to us if we're Adventists. But this was the 70s, and if we're Catholics in the 70s, this is what's moral. But it's not the same thing that's moral in the 2000s. That's not morality. That's something you teach to savages so you can move them through kind of like through the slaughter pen or something. The idea is that morality is something, true morality, objective moralism, or moral objectivism is based on universal principles that are immutable, okay? A woman wearing a low collar in the church has nothing to do with morality. Having sex before the government signs a piece of paper with both of your names on it has nothing to do with morality. But morality is about how we treat ourselves how we honor God through our actions, and how we treat our fellow humans. These are timeless things. So moral objectivism is universal and is timeless. And so when you get into things like the church telling you, oh, you can't have sex before marriage, or I don't know, there's certain things that you're not supposed to have a wife and then have a mistress. These are norms that fit into a cultural context that God does not care at all about. And you can see that if you read the Bible at all. God does not care about that stuff. So God has a blueprint, and moral objectivism is one of the pillars of that. The second pillar of it is intrinsic virtue. That means that God's law is written in your heart. Savages don't have that. Savages run around, they eat their children, they fornicate with their parents. That's what a savage does. And that's why you need the Ten Commandments and the Mosaic law and the Deuteronomical laws, right? Because you have to take savages and civilize them into humans. But when you're an apex man or an apex woman, for that matter, you have God's law written in your heart. So you know that it makes no sense for you to expose yourself to things that harm you in the long run. Even if it feels good right now, you're intelligent enough to know down the road, this is going to screw up my life or my experience or my results. So you don't do them. And so, you don't need someone to teach you. You don't need 10 laws. You don't need you don't need police to follow you around and make sure you do the right thing. You just automatically do it. All right. The third thing that's part of God's blueprint is transcendent self-awareness. Transcendent self-awareness goes into intrinsic virtue and moral objectivism. When you have transcendent self-awareness, that means that the world outside of you is a reflection of you. And so if you judge someone, or if you harm someone, or if you do anything out there in the world, you're actually doing it to yourself. In Revelation, Jesus says, what you've done to the least of these, you have done unto me. And it's the Christ within you speaking about how we deal with the world. And that's how apex males in their sexual experience or in their normal experience are able to understand, like, if I run through all of these harlots or these whores, I'm actually doing myself a disservice. The harm and the hurt that I perpetuate in their lives from being molested as children or whatever their trauma was, right? Then I'm actually taking on that trauma and I'm doing this to myself. And so I refuse to do that. So you develop a higher level of self-consciousness that transcends just your physical form. And then the last or the fourth pillar of apex sexuality that in God's blueprint is rational self-interest. This means that you put yourself first, you're rationally selfish, and you pursue goals that pertain to God's design in you. You're not doing things because society tells you to do it, because your mother told you to do it, because maybe your dad did it, or whatever, or the church says these are the right things to do. You're doing it because it fulfills you as an individual, it serves you as an individual, and it serves your end goals. And so you're able to give your whole heart to it and really bring enthusiasm, confidence, clarity, and flow to it. Okay? And then finally, God's blueprint for male sexuality allows you to always honor the following, okay? And then we're going to close out, all right? And that is prosperity, purpose, pleasure, peace, productivity, purity, and power. If you have any type of interactions with a woman that detract from these things, you should immediately cut her off, immediately remove her from your life, because these are the main principles of a godly life. You cannot have a godly life if you're in poverty. You cannot have a godly life if you're purposeless. You cannot have a godly life if you're constantly in pain, if you're constantly at war, if you have no productivity, and if your life is unpure, or if you are weak. So the 7 principles of prosperity, purpose, pleasure, peace, productivity, purity, and power are the principles of a godly life as a man. And so there is a blueprint for sexuality. It must be morally objective. It must have intrinsic virtue. It must transcend a sense of self as here and understand that self is reflected in the world. It also must be selfish in the rational sense. You're putting yourself first because this is where God's will is performed in your life. And then, of course, it honors the 7 foundational principles of a godly life. Thank you for watching. That's what I'd say about that. Stick and stay tuned, because we're going to go into understanding sexual sovereignty and what that actually looks like when it comes to dealing with women. Okay? Thank you for watching.